afterwards as well. Fabulous. Okay, let me get set up here and we can get started. Fabulous. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's postgraduate information session. Today we'll be given an overview of the Learning and Development Centres here at Glasgow Caledonian University. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and learn a wee bit more about that. My name's Michelle and I'll be the host for your session. So before we begin, I do just have a couple of wee quick housekeeping notes. First things first, all microphones and cameras are disabled during the session. This is just to ensure a smooth experience for everyone. You can still use the chat whenever you'd like throughout the session. If you do have any questions at any point, just pop them into that wee chat box. We'll obviously be answering as many as we can during the Q&A session at the end. If it's during the presentation, I'll probably just keep a wee note of your question and we'll get it answered in the Q&A once the presentation has concluded. I'd also like to let you know that obviously I've said today's session is being recorded. So this session, along with all of the other sessions that we're doing as part of the Postgraduate Online Open Week, will be available on the GCU YouTube page in the coming weeks. You'll get a wee email about that to let you know when those have been uploaded, and you'll be able to watch it back and share it with others if you feel like you've missed any information or you want to go back over anything. Now, I'm really pleased to introduce you to these presenters. We've got Jane and Lina here, who will give us an introduction to the kind of overview of the LDC service at GCU. I'll now hand you over to Jane and Lina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll start maybe just saying I'm Lina and that's Jane. It's useful to know when we're sitting together. So we'll probably just cover a few basic key information that you may have heard already. We are the top-ranked modern university in the UK. It's the most recent university guide by Times and Sunday Times. As you can see, we have really, really good student experience from international students. So we kind of know, hopefully, what we're doing.
Yeah, we do.
We also have very high rate of our students going into employment. So again, another good reason why you would choose to come here. And also we do have a lot of students, a lot of international students. So we are quite familiar with the difficulties of transitioning into a different education system.
Absolutely, that's something that we're very aware of and trained in fact.
The structure of the university on our Glasgow campus, we have three schools. We have the School of Health and Life Sciences, the Glasgow School for Business and Society, and the School of Science and Engineering. So depending on what program you decide to study, you will be in one of those three schools. Or if you decide it will be the London campus as well, but we'll concentrate on that one later. So.
Okay, so let's tell you a bit more about what these learning development centres are. In Glasgow Caledonian University, we're very lucky here to have 3 learning development centres. That is more than a lot of other universities. So each school, as we said, has its own centre. Now, within those centres, there are teams of adult education specialists, and we call them learning development specialists. Now, those learning development specialists are trained in how to support students to develop the skills that they require to be successful in their academic programmes. We'll tell you a bit more about that as the session goes on, but 2 of the schools also are very lucky to have digital specialists, and that's someone like Lina. Lina is a digital specialist, so digital specialists help with things like formatting and
all the educational technology that you will be using as part of your normal studies. So we work together with the full team that will teach you your subject, but also all the academic and the digital skills you'll need.
Absolutely. So we work very closely to provide you with, as you can see, a very comprehensive level of support within your studies. Now, as we said, we're a team of adult education specialists, so we've got some really good training and a lot of experience in how to support students, including international students. And one of the things that we like to really stress is that Sometimes students think that these kinds of services are perhaps designed for students who may be struggling in some way. And I think it's really important to stress here that yes, we might be working with students who are struggling. Now that could be international students perhaps, who are making that transition from one educational structure into another. But the important point here is that the Learning Development Centres are designed for all students, absolutely every student. So whether you're having difficulties or not, whether you are a straight A student and you want to go even higher, really it doesn't matter. The point is that we are here within the school to help every single student to enhance their academic and their digital skills. So this is a service for absolutely every student. And as I just said then, that means that the LDCs or the Learning Development Centres are for everyone. So it could be that perhaps you want to develop certain skills. It might be, for example, that you feel that your writing skills are very good, but perhaps you need a bit of help with how to study and retain information, or it could be time management, it could be even stress management. Or very often with international students, we find that there's a lot of support required for critical thinking and critical writing skills. Not something that you need to be worrying about right now, but just important for you to know that that kind of support is there. It may be perhaps that students want to improve on their work. So perhaps they've had feedback on an essay, let's say, and they perhaps want to really develop, really understand what that feedback means and how they can then use that to move forward in their work. So we work very closely with students in that respect as well. And sometimes, understandably, of course, students just don't know where to get started. They might feel very overwhelmed. And that's when they can come to us and we can help support them. It might be where to get started on an essay, or how to start studying, or how to come up with a time management programme, or they might just feel completely stressed and overwhelmed, and we're another listening ear for them. So that kind of gives you a bit of an overview of what our service does, but let's give you now some more concrete examples of the specific kind of support that we can help with. Now, these really are just examples. There are lots and lots of different areas in which we can support students. Often what I see is, if it's something that can support you in your academic success, then we are probably the people to come to. So just to give you some examples, it may be that you want to get more support with the referencing style that we use. Again, not something to be worried about just now, but that's something that we could support with. Or perhaps it might be report writing or essay writing, or perhaps you've got an essay question and you just don't know how to go about it. You need support with breaking down that question. You might never have done reflective writing before. That's very often the case. So you might need some support with what that means and how to go about it. We've talked about study techniques, exam preparation, often with particularly master's students. It might be that you need a bit of support with a research proposal or dissertation writing or literature reviews. I mentioned before as well, specifically often with all students really, critical writing always comes up. That's like our bread and butter, so we say here. That's something that we are often doing with students, but particularly with international students. Lena and I have done a lot of work with international students, and one of the key things that we took from that work is that international students, not always, but quite often haven't had exposure to that form of writing. So we can really help support with that as well as things like presentation creation and recording. This would be more Lena's stuff. And
this is really where we work together with my colleagues, although I'm the digital specialist. We have often sessions together with either your lecturers being in class and delivering a session together, or with one of my colleagues. So if it's something to do with a presentation, for example, I will teach you how to create an effective presentation that will support you with delivering. And my colleagues like Jane will help you learn how to get those presentation skills, how to come across more confident, how to get your message across. Other examples in terms of the digital side of things could be simple thing like formatting a document, which is not simple when you talk about dissertations, but using AI effectively, conveying a message in a different form. For example, literally this morning, I was seeing a student who had to create a promotional poster. Again, your program will teach you the content and will teach you the skills, how to work with that content, how to present it, how to write it, how to learn in general.
And I think the other thing that we would add is that any transition in life can bring a bit of anxiety. And coming into a new program at any university, for many students, we find brings anxiety. So we completely understand that as well. And embedded in all the work then that we do with students is that sort of theme of supporting students in understanding and perhaps any sort of anxiety around writing, particularly because writing is a thing, right? It does tend to bring anxiety. We really, really get that, and we're there to offer that sort of support.
And build confidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Confidence in your own skills and help you develop those skills.
Absolutely. So how do we actually go about this then? What is the format that we use to offer supports? Now, what you'll find in different schools, that the different kind of support there are different support mechanisms, but generally what we provide is what we would call workshops. Now, one of the things I should say about our service is most of the support that we're providing is opt-in. Okay, so nobody's going to say to you, you must go and see someone at the Learning Development Centre. It's really there for you to use as you see fit. So for example, the Learning Development Centres will offer opt-in workshops. So they may run a couple of times a week, for example, and every week they may be on various topics. So you might have a topic on referencing, on structuring essays, on critical writing, etc. So that's a really good thing that we provide and something to keep up your sleeves if you do choose to come here. We also offer what we call embedded sessions. Now, those are sessions where one of us comes into your actual module, so comes into your actual class, and we provide a very specific level of support. Now, that's tailored, yes. So that could be, let's say, for example, that you have a particular assignment coming up, and your module leader has come to us in the Learning Development Centre and said, could you provide a session on this? So there we will work with you in the class to provide very tailored support on how you might go about that particular assignment, for example. Or if it was Lena, it would be to use the digital skills to help put together that particular assignment.
So that's probably where they would see us most.
Yeah.
We work a lot within the programs.
We also offer writing retreats. Now, they're really there for a sort of motivational benefits, because as you know, when it comes to writing, very often it's easy to procrastinate, it's easy to put things off. So what we do is we book a big room and we're there for support. The students can just come along, bring their essays or whatever writing it is that they need to do, and just sit there in a nice calm environment and work alongside other people. So we find that they're popular too. Probably our most popular thing that we provide is what we call one-to-one appointments, and that is, as the name suggests, where you can book in for a one-to-one, typically lasting around 30 minutes, and that will be where you get very personalised support. It could be, for example, that you've got feedback on an essay, you want to drill into that feedback, understand it a bit more, or get support with how to go about writing a particular essay, for example. Now, what's really important to stress here is that we will never proofread, we will never read through a full academic essay, because of course at university the emphasis is very much on independent learning. So our role is really to help equip you with skills that you can use for all of your academic work, not just one specific piece of work. So we're really there developing you so that you can be successful academically in every way. The LDCs also offer drop-in. I know this is an awful lot of information, but just so that you can see sort of the multi-dimensional ways in which we can offer support. You can pop along for a drop-in appointment if you've got like a quick question you wanted to ask. And we've also got lots of online materials available as well. So as you can see, there is lots and lots of support, and Glasgow Caledonian really does stand out in that way because of that.
Just to give you a flavour of what previous students have said, obviously I'm not going to read all the comments and all the different quotes. I think the one at the bottom really summarises everything for us. This was a new student just joining us after the first session that the team met those students. He said, I can become good and build on excellence, but I don't have to start from perfection. So no one expects you to come knowing everything. The whole point is you come to university to learn. So not knowing things is what we expect, and asking the questions and learning is really what your part in this journey is going to be. A few of the comments mentioned that they got a 65% and 72%, which may sound low to some people because obviously different countries, different institutions even have different ways of marking. But just to clarify, here we do use percentages, but anything above 70% is actually excellent work.
Yeah.
So the 100 is unachievable. It's kind of the, I don't know, gold standard, Nobel Prize kind of thing.
Absolutely. We do find students even coming from programmes within Scotland, perhaps if they've come from the college sector and they come into university, they're perhaps used to getting, let's say, 80% in their work. And quite often they come to us feeling very upset because they've perhaps got what they call only 60%. And I just think that's something to be aware of, that actually 60% here is considered very good. Yeah. So 70%, as Lena said, would be exceptional. So if we look at this quote, for example, I just want to say a huge thank you for all your help developing my essay writing, particularly in relation to critique writing, critical writing. I'm delighted to say I passed my resit with 72%. So that is just something to bear in mind. And really we are showing off here with all these quotes, but I think it is important for you to understand just how much support there is available here, but also the quality. I think we should also probably share, Lena, that we have actually received quite a few national awards as well. So it is recognised outside the institution how high quality support students get at GCU. So something to bear in mind, definitely.
A few hot topics that I'm sure would be on some of your minds. So yes, we are allowing use of AI within certain parameters, but the main purpose of us is to teach you how to use it appropriately, because you don't want to outsource your thinking. And there is quite a big danger with a lot of people now that they're just jumping because it's a quick and easy one and it looks quite good. But we teach you how to think critically about all the technologies and how to develop the skills you're going to need to use them appropriately and develop yourself at the same time. So yeah, the overcoming mental blocks to writing, a very common one, me included.
Me included as well. Everyone suffers from that. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about we're not just looking at the sort of practical skills that you require, we're looking at these important psychological skills as well, and we're able to support with that. So we've talked about critical writing as well. And supporting neurodivergent learners is becoming a bigger and bigger aspect of what we do as well, typically through sort of academic writing support and reading.
We do have quite a high percentage of our students with some kind of disability, neurodivergent or a different one. So we are very experienced in that, but it's not our specialty. We have a separate team that you may hear from that has a lot more specialist knowledge. So we work together with them as well. So you are supported in every way.
Yeah.
So typical student, no.
No, everyone
is different. It doesn't matter if they're a brother and sister, there will be different people. So same thing with student. There's no typical student. Typical student is different student. Yep. So the diversity is being typical.
Yeah, absolutely.
So keeps us interested in everyday job as well. We're seeing so many different people all the time.
Yep.
So it's quite exciting.
It is. And we were just going to finish with a couple of examples. So here we've got student A, for example, who's doing an MSc in advanced practice. Now, this student is returning to study after many years. And what we so typically find with these students is that they bring a lot of anxiety because they feel, all these younger students have got all this energy, their brains are more efficient than mine, and I'm worried about how I'm going to cope with this, and I'm worried about how the university environment might have changed. And what we actually find is that these students often bring a great deal of maturity. They often engage much better in class, and they often do much, much better. But this particular student booked in for one of our specialist workshops. They attended one of our dedicated LDC embedded sessions, and that for them was enough to help them to realise, okay, this is not so scary, and they were right on track where they needed to be. So again, that's just an example.
The common thing we hear is like, I've been out of the game for so long, but there's no such thing. Everyday life is constant learning anyway. So
absolutely.
It's just adapting it.
And another example here, we have an international student studying for an MSc. This particular student studied their undergraduate in another country, and they're worried about the differences in the academic conventions. So what are the expectations going to be on me in comparison to what I'm used to in the past? And to be fair, yes, they can be very different, but this particular student's very proactive. They attend all our induction sessions. They read all the material that we have provided on academic integrity. They ask when in doubt, and they double check, and they're absolutely fine. So again, if these are kinds of thoughts that might be in your mind, whether you come to GCU or not, please be assured that there are always ways around it, and it tends to be that it's never as bad as you think.
And it's always an opportunity to learn, which is the whole point of coming to uni.
Absolutely.
So I was hoping by now we have some questions, but nothing at the moment. So I think we go back to Michelle.
You just pass over, yeah.
Yeah, I think that you were so informative and thorough that everyone feels that their questions have been answered, or maybe they're still just deciding some questions. So can always follow up by email, reply to any of the emails that are sent out afterwards, and we can direct through where appropriately. So obviously, I'll be doing a wee closing remark. If anything comes through in the next few moments, we'll pause for that. But otherwise, I believe that brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you so much, Jane and Lina, for your time and your expertise. And also a really big thank you for all of you for attending today as well. A wee reminder that the session will be available on the GCU YouTube page in the coming weeks if you'd like to revisit any of the content. And we do hope that you find today's sessions helpful. And we look forward to hopefully welcoming many of you to GCU on campus, maybe one day, for your postgraduate studies. So thank you so much again, and I hope that you have a lovely day. Just had one question come in. You will get the link for the recorded videos that we sent out afterwards. And just keep a wee eye out on the GCU YouTube page as well. It will come up on there for all of the sessions. So don't worry, you will have full access to them. They'll be publicly accessible as soon as they're uploaded. We reckon that will take about a week and a half, 2 weeks, because we have to transcribe them all. But you will receive the link. I believe that's all for questions. I think we're okay there. Anything else, please do just email ahead. And I hope that you have a lovely day.
Have a good day from us.